The United States Border Patrol has exciting and rewarding career opportunities with the nation's largest law enforcement organization. Earn great pay, outstanding federal benefits, and up to $20,000 in recruitment incentives. Learn more online at cbp.gov/career/USBP.
I need new music.
Discover new music now. JJO.
Madison Solid Rock 94.1 JJO. It's Brock, and it is time to discover new music. Joining me today, John Connolly. You know him more than likely from Sevendust, but today we're talking about a side project, a passion project of his since 2014, and that is the band Projected. John, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, man.
Thank you so much for taking the time. And we're excited about this. Obviously, we all love you. There was Sevendust, and we're not taking anything away from that today. But we are also very excited because your side project, which, by the way, I feel bad saying side project. It makes it seem like it's not as cool, or it's almost like that side woman that you had all those years ago. And they're like, no. It's still important. It's still important.
Yeah, a side thing. I like it. Hey, man, we're in our situation. I think
your third full length album, Hypoxia, coming out June 24th. And I just want to kick things off because it's interesting to me. When you have a dynamic like this, do you have to reset is there a different mindset with Projected as opposed to Sevendust?
It's an interesting thing because I'm sort of sitting in the middle of it as we speak, because we're writing for a Sevendust record. There's sort of a barometer where if I sound really bad singing it, it's going to be perfect for Sevendust. If I sound really good singing it, it's probably not going to work for LJ's style. LJ has a totally different vocal style from any of the rest of us. You know, it's time in the saddle. He's got control. He's got that R&B foundation that is just, you either have it or you don't. Yeah. You know, it's like guitar players who have that thing. You see it and you're like, oh, man. Yeah. You know, that's it. Like you just have that thing. And it's tricky in the world of Sevendust because sometimes we can write songs that sound so great with mediocre voices singing them. And then you put an amazing, you figure, all right, we're up in the game. Yeah. But for some reason or another, it waters him down. So you have to be real careful on how you approach, you know, LJ, because he's such a gifted singer. You know, you sort of have to let that do its thing. With Projected, it's not so much weight put on that part of the equation. I get by, you know, I mean, I think the melodies definitely work for what I'm doing, but it definitely takes a different mindset. And sometimes I can sit there, especially now going into a third record, I can usually sit there when I'm working on a song and I can go, you know what, maybe I should hit the pause on this one because this is definitely not Sevendust. I'm going to play it for them and everyone's going to go, man, that's a badass Projected song. And be like, okay, so what am I wasting my time here for? I can do that later, you know? Yeah, it's tricky, but I think over the years, we've definitely gotten better. And I think even the guys in the band can hear it coming, you know, from a mile away. But there's always that wild card, you know, if LJ starts singing on it and reacts to it, you know, you sort of have to just kind of step back, take a listen, and just hear where his headspace is. And then you go, oh, wait a minute, this is Sevendust. Sounds like Sevendust.
So the streams cross from time to time, for sure.
Yeah, 100%. There's plenty of songs on all of the Projected records that have at one point or another probably at least been put into the mix to see if they would work in a Sevendust world. Stain was a example. That song actually, I believe I had tried to squeeze that one in on All I See Is War. So that song goes back almost 5 years. That was probably the oldest song of the batch. There was just something special about it. I was like, when I did it, I went, oh man, there's something very cool about what my voice is doing, desperately trying to, you know, keep up with this song. It just worked. You know, it was one of those ones where I played it for the guys and nobody even flinched. Like nobody in Projected said, that sounds like a Sevendust song. Everybody in Sevendust said, that sounds like a Projected song. Oh, cool. So sometimes it's like, it's so cut and dry. And then there's other times where it's like, okay, this is a coin toss. Yeah. I don't have any melodies on it. It's just a piece of music. And I'll play it for Scott and he'll be like, don't play it for the rest of the guys. Don't play it for the rest of the guys. And sure enough, I'll play it for the rest of the guys and they'll be like, damn it, I told you not to do that.
It could have been ours.
I know. I mean, the coolest thing about it though, is there's an outlet for whatever. You know, sometimes I'll have a piece of music that I'll be struggling with and all of a sudden the light bulb will come on like a year and a half later where I'm not thinking about it too hard. And then it's like, why was it that difficult? Yeah. You know, and sometimes it has nothing to do with the song. Sometimes it's about you, where you at, where are you in the process? How shot out are you? How many songs are you trying to work on all at the same time? Because this is sort of the crazy time. With Sevendust, we're going to hit the studio mid-July, but we'll do a writing session at the end of June. So right now you're spending as much time with as many pieces of music as you can, shooting them down. Wait a minute, this needs a polish. Hang on a second. This is good. It's just, your mix is so stupid. It's lost in the presentation. There's so many different variables. So it's sort of an exciting part of the process, but there's a lot of projected that's coming out in this part of the process. It just happens. I hear it and I'm like, oh man, that's not a Sevendust song. That is 100% a projected song.
Oh man, it's just so interesting to me because obviously with as long as you've been doing that, you think like, oh, it's just plug and play. And so it's cool to see both sides. And it's great that both bands are obviously cool with the intertwinings of both bands in that sense.
100%. I mean, I think the most interesting thing about the situation is, from Guns N' Roses to Slash to Miles to Alter Bridge to Sevendust to, it's like, wait a minute, hang on a second. There's 6 degrees of separation all the way up to Guns N' Roses right now. That's a lot of different things to sort of be, try to figure into the radar. You've got Tremonti and Alter Bridge, and then Miles' solo thing and Alter Bridge. And then there's always the Creed wild card that can come up every, decade or so potentially for a handful of dates, and then you've got Sevendust and you've got Clint doing his thing and you've got LJ getting ready to release his solo thing. Morgan's got solo workout. Call Me No One, and that's just like the immediate, you look around, Mark is doing Sinatra now. Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay. And he wants to tour it a little bit, because it did so well. I think it was such a cool thing because he didn't really care about anything other than making money for the charity, raising awareness, doing that whole thing. And I think it just exploded. So it was like, okay, this is another thing to put in the radar. So what used to be weird a decade ago isn't really weird anymore. I think we've all gotten to the point where we're comfortable enough. I'm confident enough when I walk in with a piece of music to go, if they're not into it, I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
I'm 100% cool with that. And maybe I need to revisit and rethink and go, am I thinking that this is better than it really is? Or maybe I'm just hearing it in a different way, well, and that's usually what it is, especially at this part of the journey. I mean, I've been with these guys for 25 years, so with Sevendust 25 years, with Projected, it's a little easier to figure out, okay, what is my gut telling me that I'm into, not even thinking about Sevendust. Sometimes that's hard when you're in the Sevendust realm. It's like, I have to be sensitive to everyone. And I mean, it's not like I don't have to be sensitive in the world of Projected either. It's just the cart comes before the horse in a different way. Mm-hmm. With Sevendust, it's all, let's dump it on the table. And, it's like 5 kids getting together with their basket of toys. We throw them all on the floor. Somebody goes and runs off with one. Somebody smashes another one. And you're like, God bless, you just right out of the rip, you're like, all right, my soul is on the floor. With Projected, it's a totally different thing because you got to sort of search your soul for a long time before you commit to something. And then with Projected, it's weird. I'm not worried about what anybody else thinks about it. I have to live with it for at least a week or 2 and still get excited about it. If I don't, no. It's a simple process especially with lyrics and the vocals. The music comes a little bit quicker, a little bit easier. And the guys, like, there's a Dropbox folder that I just keep piling stuff in there. You never know what's going to turn up, but everyone has access to listen and review and, voice their opinion. Because every time we get in there with Projected, it's like all 3 of those guys will have different ones that they want to do. Yeah. Which is awesome, because it's like, all right, if they were all jumping on one and nobody was touching the rest of the batch, I'd be like, all right, well, I just gave them a big pile of crap, I guess. But they always pick something different. And it's usually something from where I'm thinking. So I'm like, all right, this is a good cross section of music, but it's cool in the fact that the bands have accepted that these things are going to happen because it makes the writing process it makes it easier. Mm-hmm. Because like I said, there's always an outlet. Yeah. Like if you're really passionate about a piece of music and everybody else in the room is not, okay, that's fine. I mean, obviously it meant something to you. If you play it for other people and they're into it, then that's a good sign. Mm-hmm. If you play it for the whole world and everyone hates it, then you wrote a dog. You wrote a dog. So it's like, all right, what's the goal here? Okay, is that your private? I listen to this while I'm working out music. I mean, I've got so many things that I've written over the years that I know I'm like, oh, it's a really cool piece of music, and I'd be embarrassed to have it show up on a Sevendust record because it's just not worthy of Sevendust.
Yeah.
Good music and Sevendust are like two different things. With Sevendust, there's sort of a thing. Like we've developed a brand and a style and a sound. I think Projected has just now gotten to the point where I think we sort of got our mojo. But interestingly enough, I don't think Sevendust got its mojo until Animosity. We've been doing those anniversary dates, and there's something very, very, it's just crazy. It just feels together. It feels settled. It feels like the band is confident, kind of where I am with Projected too. It's like, this is the first record that I'm not like, I wish I had a second chance at that one. Let's just cram as much stuff in as fast as we can, get it done. Don't overthink, move. Don't overproduce. Let's underproduce. And it had a sound and a vibe, and it's very, very cool.
Madison Solid Rock 94.1 at JJO and JJO Discover New Music. Our guest is John Connolly of Projected, talking about their new release, Hypoxia.
You brought up in there, which is another crazy part of this band, because I think supergroup is fair enough to say, because you got Vinny, you got Scott Phillips in there, you got Eric in there as well. How do you navigate that sound? And again, you even brought up, it's nice having this outlet, or you sharing all the, how do you navigate that sound when there's so many creative directions coming in?
I think, at least the way that it comes across to me, I think at this point, there's a lot of potential crossover in the music. Like if you were to take all of Miles's vocals off an Alter Bridge record, and all of Tremonti's vocals off, and all of my vocals off, and all of LJ's vocals off, you could probably still tell which band was which band. But there's probably a handful of songs that you could make an argument like Miles would kill that. Or El kill that. So there's enough crossover within the music. I think the identifier is the singer. It's like, it's the easiest thing. It's the thing that, I think I've learned the most from sitting behind Lejean for 25 years. It's like, all right, I've got a front row seat to what I should be doing.
Taking notes back there.
How he can connect and how he performs, from start to finish. But it's the same thing with Miles. And even now, Mark's got, so many tours under his belt. He's confident. He feels good and comfortable in his place. Clint's been out. He's toured quite a bit. It's like, I think time in the saddle is that thing. But I think the identifying thing between the bands is always going to be what's happening on the vocals. Because there is some crossover. There's probably not as much crossover between Projected and, say, a Miles Kennedy solo record. That's a little bit of a different thing. But there is crossover between the rest of the bands because it's all sort of the same style of music. We're not going to try to I'm not going to pull a Machine Gun Kelly here. You know what I mean? It's like, it's real easy to want to jump over there and then piss a bunch of people off, to get a bunch of people looking at you and a bunch of people talking about you. And then all of a sudden you realize, oh, wait a minute, that backfired.
Yeah.
None of us are going to, try to do something that we're not comfortable, and it's sort of in our wheelhouse. It's like, I like to experiment, but I don't want to experiment on something that I want that close and to be that personal to. I want to do, I just want to be honest about it. People ask, why do you write this type of music you write? I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it was because Billy Gibbons years ago said, play and write what you want to hear. And I was like, it's some of the best advice ever. I love listening to ZZ Top, but it doesn't naturally come out of me that same way. But what does come out of me naturally is Projected and Sevendust.
Yeah.
So I think the same rule applies. It's like, you can sit there and you can try to be who's faster, who's written more hits, who's done more of this, but it's art. It's all art. It's subjective. And it's like, it doesn't have to be the most, the craziest selling thing to still be really, really good art. It's a cool spot. It's like, these side projects have sort of just become a piece of the puzzle, especially with Projected. Like, it's never like I'm trying to force a tour or trying to dictate a schedule. It's always been at, whatever Alter Bridge and Sevendust has available.
You make it work.
After those two are sort of done and everyone's happy with the schedule and everything, then we look at the holes and we figure it out. And I got lucky with this whole timing. I mean, you never get lucky with a pandemic, but I was getting ready to go in the studio anyway. So it was like, all right, well, if there's ever been a time to not, I can't travel. Yeah. I mean, for us, it was like, we're all here in Orlando and we're on lockdown. okay, sounds like we should probably get in the studio right now. So we did. You know, he was like, let's use this to our advantage. He was like, you know, we might actually be able to, you know, take some of these songs and actually turn them into something a little bit more than we even thought that we had. So, you know, you just take your time and you go through it, and you don't stress over the process. Because I think the hardest part, when we were young, God, if I had to do it all over again, you know, it's like no days off, 6 weeks straight. We're not doing anything. Time you get to week 3, it's like all objectivity's out the window. You don't like anything. You know, like there's never any unloading. Like, no, just pile it on. Go. We're until 4 a.m. I'm like, and the whole next day is destroyed because of it. You know, it's like, all right, well, as we got older, I was like, we need to learn to take those naps. You know, get on your daughter's schedule. Oh yeah, I'm back in my 50s, and I'm like, there's a beauty to having a nap every 3 or 4 hours.
You're damn right. Well, I think that's, you know, I've talked to a lot of artists recently, and with the pandemic, again, if you're looking for any kind of silver lining, maybe it did allow us to slow down. And with this record, just hearing you talk about that, and yeah, just that run and gun world of putting a record together and touring, you got to experience something different with Hypoxia.
For sure. It was an interesting how the planets lined up, because when I remember when they said, all right, we're going on lockdown, I was like, what? Hold up. It's a lockdown. What are we talking about here? They're like, it's literally like, get in your house and don't leave the neighborhood. What? I was like, holy crap. Like, this is for real. So I was already in that mode. I was probably about halfway through with all of the lyrics and the melodies. All the music was written. And I sort of had the record sussed out. Like, I knew which songs I really wanted to have. I did not have Hypoxia then, ironically. Okay. So Hypoxia was not written yet. But the second that Tim called, and I was like, oh no, here we go. The interesting thing was that, you know, diving in that deep though, I picked up the guitar, had a panic attack after like a week, because I hadn't touched the guitar in a week. And I went, oh no, I don't remember how to play guitar. It took me about an hour and a half to get it. I was like, what?
It's a G chord.
This is the worst. You know, I was like, I've never gone to just vocals, but I had to. It was like, all right, it's time to do this. So I'm playing the guitar, and I'm like, oh, all right, I got it back on. I was like, all right, I probably should do like one more. Let me just do one more something, like one more straight down the pipe. You know, something. It just needs something in the middle that's sort of heavy and sort of hooky. And, you know, Hypoxia. I just started playing it was the pre-chorus, just because it was sort of like a warm-up. I was happy to be playing guitar again. It felt good. I was like, all right, if I, you know, there's certain things, like, I know Slash talks about the whole Sweet Child of Mine being an exercise. And it's exactly what happened with Hypoxia. It was like, this was just an exercise to get me going. All right, I'm playing again. I'm feeling good. It's awesome. And then I went, actually, that's sort of cool. And I worked back and I put a little verse thing on it. Then I went over to the chorus, and it just fell out. Like, literally the song kind of came together in about 5 minutes.
Wow.
And I listened through everything, and I went, all right, save, close. I shut everything down. Like, I was like, all right, I like everything, and that's very unusual. Normally I attack a part. There's one piece of music that I'm like, it's horrible. Like, it's got to go. And I listened to everything. I went, no, that's actually kind of cool. And I walked away, and I was like, all right, I'm going to go ride the bike for a while. That song was written, I'm not exaggerating, probably in about 15 minutes.
Wow.
From start to finish, it was just one of those ones. And I was like, man, I try to equate songwriting to fishing, because you can go out there and you can cast, and, you know, you could put a million lines in the water and nothing's hitting. And then that one day you throw the one line and boom, you're in the water, you're fighting, and you're like, what is this? And you pull a monster out. And that's sort of what it felt like after I put that one together, to me. But I was like, you know what, let's not get crazy here. Let's get it in the mix. And I get in the studio, we start working with Elvis, and Elvis has a notebook. Each song has like a page, maybe a page and a half. You know, he's gone through and he's digging, you know, throwing ideas. What if we did this? Maybe this needs to be twice as long. You know, halftime here, question mark, not feeling it. You know, sometimes it'll happen. And then you're like, all right, cool. You either make your case or you address the part. And we get to Hypoxia, and he flips it over, and I go, oh no. Because I see Hypoxia written up at the top, and I see one word. He hates it. And he starts smiling, and I'm like, oh no, you dog. And he goes, wow. And I went, okay, so it's a wow. E-Rock comes in, he goes, dude, it has to be the first single. Flip comes in and he was like, 100% it's got to be the first single. And I went, okay. And I needed a song title. And I was like, it sort of sums up everything that I was talking about throughout all of it. And it was like, all right, there it is. There's the album title. There's the song. And I was like, 6 weeks worth of work and like the planets aligned for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
For it all just to come together. And it was the most unforced, just, hey, just be there, catch it. I wish that I could sit down and have those days every day. That's the beauty of it, is like there's so much joy in that part of the process. I mean, there's a certain thing about playing live that's awesome and it's irreplaceable for sure, but there's something else that happens during that songwriting process where the hairs on your arm just stand up and you go, you sort of shake your head and you're like, what just happened?
Yeah.
It might only be for like a moment, and then everything around it, you're like, all right, how do I get the rest of it to get to there? But that's the beauty of songwriting. You have those little things, those accidents, those moments of time that just show up and they just fall in your lap. And you're just like, wow, I'm so glad I was here to receive that.
Man.
Madison Solid Rock 94.1 JJO. I'm Brock, and my guest for JJO Discover New Music is John Connolly of Projected. Hypoxia is the new release that we're highlighting this week on Discover New Music.
Maybe it's already been answered, but do you have a favorite track on the album?
It kind of rotates around. I mean, for a long time it was Hypoxia, and I still think it is the it's the stamp. It's if we want to sum the whole thing up in one, that's probably the best presentation of a cross section of all of it. But there, I go back and listen to it. At Your Window has a special place for me. Dark has a special place. Stain has a special place because of how old and how all right, it's not going to make it. That song was, it's like that song was on the chopping block for so long. Actually, number one, get it done to where I loved it, and to get it on the record, and then to have everyone go, yeah, that's the second video. I was like, all right, cool. That song got a lot of love. It's totally different from Hypoxia. Yeah. Same band, but it's like, all right, this is the other side of the band. We do this, and then we can also do this too.
I love it, man. Well, again, it's so excited, and congrats on getting that third album out. Hypoxia, June 24th from Projected. John and the boys throwing down, and we're in for a treat, man. John, before I let you go, now that we got the important stuff out of the way, you want to play rapid fire with John?
Sure.
Okay, and there's no wrong answer. So let's start with something simple. Snickers or Milky Way?
Snickers.
Pineapple on pizza or no pineapple on pizza?
I hate pineapple, so pineapple can just go straight in the trash.
Throw it all in there. Good to know. I'll make sure I don't bring that to the next pizza party. Disco or techno?
Disco.
I like that. I can see you in some disco polyester. Would you rather see Bigfoot or the Loch Ness Monster?
Loch Ness Monster.
Chili dogs or corn dogs?
Chili dogs.
Nice. Would you rather fight a man with bear arms or a bear with man arms?
Oh, man. Probably the bear with man arms, because those bear arms, I don't know, man, those claws will mess you up. Yeah, I'm going to go with the bear with the little arms, man. Take my chances.
All right. Well, thank you for humoring me, John. I appreciate it. That's Rapid Fire with John Connolly. All right, man. Well, hey, again, everyone, go get it. June 24th, Hypoxia from Projected, going to drop, and you guys are in for a treat. John, thank you so much for the time, man. I appreciate it.
Brother, thank you, man.
Discover new music now on the homepage of WJJO.com, in the JJO app, or wherever you get your podcasts. JJO.
Are you ready to focus on what you're truly passionate about? At the University of Massachusetts Amherst, we're committed to helping students design a meaningful path for their future. As one of the country's top-tier public research universities, we're helping drive the world forward, empowering students to challenge convention, champion innovation, and embrace the freedom of affecting real, positive change in the world. Tap now to explore flexible options for a high-quality education or visit umass.edu. Be revolutionary.